Good morning, America. It was a big night at the Emmys. We are going to get to that, but right now we want to get right to the breaking story of the morning. You're looking at live pictures of those massive plumes of smoke coming out of that mall in Nairobi. The government has gone in.
And we have the latest on the rescue operation as well that's ongoing. The death toll now at 69. 175 injured. We know Americans were among the injured, but big questions this morning about whether Americans were also among the terrorists.
There was a list out there, but look at this chilling photo as well. A little girl running to safety right across the shopping mall after the deadly attack first broke out.
ABC's Lindsay Davis is there at the scene right now in Nairobi, Kenya, and has the latest on this rapidly changing situation. Lindsay?
Good morning, Robin. To call the situation out here tense would certainly be an understatement. Just in the last few minutes, we have heard heavy gunfire, loud explosions, that billowing smoke that has been continuing for at least the last 15 or so minutes. Earlier this morning, we heard from Kenyan officials that they were closing in on the attackers. Perhaps this is evidence of what we've been hearing and seeing this morning. This morning, armed terrorists are reportedly holding roughly a dozen hostages in this supermarket inside the Westgate Mall, as Kenyan troops try to force the militants out without risking innocent lives. This video shows the chaos just after it began at noon on Saturday. 10 to 15 terrorists, including women, attacked the mall wearing black tactical clothing and ski masks, using explosive devices like grenades and shooting civilians with automatic weapons.
There were 3 or 4 rapid explosions, a lot of gunfire, another explosion, and we suddenly saw a crowd of people run out of the exit.
Sunil Sakdeva is an orthodontist who was working inside the mall.
2 guys walked after them. They were tall, thin, dark, and they had bandanas on their heads. About 30 seconds later, 3 people attempted to get up and run, and as they were running, one of them shot at them, and they fell in the parking lot.
By mid-afternoon, hundreds more had rushed to escape. Some crawled for cover in stores and even air shafts. Some of the victims pushed out in shopping carts, others driven out in body bags. Elaine Dang was one of 5 Americans injured in the attack.
I just got out of surgery. I'm okay. I'm very grateful to be alive.
4:44 p.m. Saturday, Kenyan officials call the attack an act of terrorism. The Al-Qaida-linked extremist group Al-Shabaab reportedly claiming responsibility, retaliation for Kenya sending troops into neighboring Somalia. Overnight, the BBC spoke with an Al-Shabaab military commander who says he's been in contact with the terrorists inside the mall and that they are not backing down.
There will be no negotiations.
Witnesses say the terrorists were on a mission to kill non-Muslims, ordering shoppers to speak Arabic or recite a verse from the Quran in order to save their lives. Now we can see the mall entrance just down the street, and as you can see there, some military police. We see ambulances that continue to go in and out of the mall. Officials have continuously come by to tell us to duck, to seek cover. And just to give you an idea of how tense the situation is as far as the injuries, the more than 175 people injured. They got more than 1,000 pints of blood donated yesterday. They're still asking for more donations. The situation out here, very fluid. Robin and George?
Let's get more now from Nick Handler, one of the Americans who was in the mall with his family when the terrorist attack. He joins us now by phone. And Nick, take us back to that moment. You and your 2-year-old Julia are in a cafe, and your wife Lindsay, who is 8 months pregnant, says a floor below when you hear the first explosion.
Yeah, so we just made a quick stop at the mall to pick up some food, and my wife Lindsay went upstairs actually to do some shopping, and a couple of minutes after she left, I just heard a loud explosion, followed by a couple of gunshots, and I was lucky enough to be right next to the door to the cafe, so I just immediately jumped up and grabbed my daughter and just ran across the mall away from the explosion as fast as I could.
So you run across, you've got your daughter Julia with you, and what happens next?
I followed a few people out, I think like a service exit of some kind towards the back of the mall. There's a wave of people came pushing back towards the building, I think running away from some shooting that was happening at the front. So we got pushed back into the building and up a flight of stairs, and then we ended up hiding out in an inventory room.
Your daughter must have been terrified.
You know, I think when When we were running away from the initial explosion and then into hiding, she was definitely freaked out. But I have to say, once we got settled down and we're just waiting the situation out, she was incredibly brave.
That could calm you down a little bit, but meanwhile, your wife...
So, yeah, my wife and I were able to communicate on the phone, so that I knew that she had moved into a movie theater, a dark movie theater on the 3rd floor, and then eventually out onto the roof. And we were talking that whole time. And I also knew when she had been finally evacuated by some heroic plainclothes policemen who had secured the way out for them. So I was aware that she was safe, and she was aware that I was inside and was helping communicate our location to people who might be able to help.
And tell us of the moment when you finally were able to see each other again.
Yeah, so after I think about 3 hours is when we were finally rescued, and I ran down a driveway on the side of the mall and turned out to the street, and I knew exactly where she was waiting, and we just sort of ran towards each other and hugged. It was an incredibly emotional moment.
I can only imagine. So happy you all are back together, your family together this morning as this terrifying situation continues to unfold. Nick, thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right there, George. Now, many people want to know more about this terrorist group.